You have probably heard this before, too big to fail. This phrase rose in popularity in 1984 when Congressman Stuart McKinney used it in relation to government intervention in Continental Illinois Bank's financial trouble. In a nutshell, it means that some corporations are so large and interconnected with the economy that their failure would be a major disaster, and therefore the government should step in to help them if they get in trouble. This concept came to prominence again during the 2008 financial crisis. Well, I want to tweak that phrase a bit and make two other phrases: too big to succeed and too small to fail. This can sum up a growing problem in Hollywood and point at a way out of the hole some studios are digging for themselves. I'm specifically looking at Marvel here since they are really struggling of late. It is generally thought that a film has to earn 2.5 to 3 times its production budget in order to break even. On top of the production costs, which include actors' salaries, are the marketing costs, and theater chains get anywhere from 50% and up of the box office take, depending on the country. This explanation is pretty rough, but you should get an idea of how the money gets split up. On top of that are any back-end deals where stars get a percentage of the box office gross in addition to whatever salary they were paid. Lots of things eat away at what the studio receives. Take a film that costs $50 million to produce. It would have to earn $125 to $150 million to break even. Anything above that would start generating profit for the studio. Say another film cost $150 million to make. That one would require $375 to $450 million at the box office before the studio saw a dime. That is just the break-even point. Looking at the budgets of some films this year alone, I would wager that they were too big to succeed, and the studio was overly optimistic in investing so much money on something that wasn't a sure thing. Captain America, Brave New World, $180 million out, $415 million at the box office, fail. Snow White, over $240 million out, $205 million at the box office, massive fail. A Minecraft movie, $150 million out, $955 million at the box office, success. Sinners, around $100 million out, $365 million at the box office, success. Thunderbolts, asterisk, $180 million out, $382 million at the box office, fail. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, over $300 million out, $595 million at the box office, fail. Interestingly, this was part 2 of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which cost anywhere from $220 to $290 million and earned $571 million at the box office. At the low end, that was barely a success, but it was most likely not much of a return for the studio even so. How many Mission Impossible films actually broke even using this 2.5 to 3 times budget model? Megan 2.0, $15 million to $25 million out, $39 million at the box office, a huge drop from the first installment, fail. Jurassic World Rebirth, $180 to $225 million out, $770 million at the box office, success. Superman, $225 million out, $560 million at the box office so far, just barely a success at the 2.5 times budget mark. The Fantastic Four First Steps, over $200 million out, $378 million at the box office so far. Most likely, it is a fail. Of course, there are other ways a studio can earn back the production costs, such as licensing, other window releases, although with so many studios owning their own streaming platforms, this avenue seems far more limited than before. Home media sales, and so on. Still, if a film can't break even at the box office and can only hope to struggle its way to plus minus zero over several years after its release, that certainly can't be what the studio hoped would happen. Of all the films I mentioned, Sinners seems to be sitting at a kind of sweet spot. A relatively low budget, and I mean that in comparison to other high-profile releases, of $100 million, it proved easily capable of making back its costs. Being in the horror genre helped a lot because fans of horror will always give something a shot, and Sinners had enough over-the-top gore, coupled with great performances and amazing music, to bring people back for repeat viewings. The first Megan cost $12 million and earned $181 million, a definite success. The tongue-in-cheek nature of the plot, the horror aspect, the appeal of its titular antagonist, this film had a lot going for it. Low-budget horror is usually a very safe bet, as Blumhouse well knows. Why then shift the sequel toward the action genre and market it as such? They just lost heaps of the appeal of this first film, and possibly turned off any horror fans. Rather than making an iconic horror villain like Jason, Freddy, or Chucky, they made nothing. Same budget, roughly, but less than a quarter of the box office. What were they thinking? As I mentioned, low-budget horror will not usually wind up in the top 10 highest-grossing films of the year, but it is almost a guarantee to earn back its production costs. The Insidious franchise, 5 films with a total production cost of $42.5 million, $731 million in total box office revenue. While that return is lower than what a single superhero tentpole generates against the lower production budgets, it shows a massive return on investment that is over 17 times the production costs. If Superman had done that, it would have made $3.825 billion. The Conjuring universe, 8 films with a total production cost of $208 million. That averages out to $26 million apiece. The box office returns amount to $2.27 billion, around 11 times the production costs. The Fantastic Four First Steps would have to earn at least $2.2 billion to match that level of return. It seems that most massively budgeted tentpole films lately are too big to succeed, while these horror films are too small to fail. Can recognizable franchise characters replicate this? Can a low-budget horror film hit the big leagues in terms of box office returns? Let's take a look. 2017's It, an R-rated supernatural horror film starring a basically unknown cast of children, cost around $40 million to make. It brought in over $700 million at the box office. That's 17.5 times the production costs. The same year, 2017's Logan, the 10th film in the X-Men franchise and the 3rd solo outing for Wolverine, cost around $100 million to make, depending on which sources you check. It earned $620 million at the box office, over 6 times the production costs. So, yes, keeping the budget at a more reasonable level greatly increases the chances of making a profit. It is not rocket science. Business 101. Yet, why do so many studios dump so much money into films that barely stand a chance of breaking even? Is it just over-optimism? Are they laundering money earned from Walter White's blue meth? Are they immune from learning from past mistakes? I'm looking at Sony here with its numerous misfires, trying to build a franchise around Spider-Man secondary characters and villains. If you have an answer, please let me know. On top of that, when budgets get that high, can we see that money on the screen? Everything Everywhere All at Once had great visuals and inventive action sequences and only cost $25 million max. Godzilla Minus One was a period piece on top of being a kaiju film and won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects in 2024. It cost $15 million at most. Surely a film can still achieve action and spectacle without the studio having to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. Or am I wrong on that? Looking at Marvel, which is the company that seems to be failing most often recently, here is what I hope happens with that studio. Keep budgets to $100 million max, shooting for the $50 to $75 million range. Cut back on spectacle. Audiences have seen so much spectacle already that it starts just washing over them, much less impact. Make great scripts with entertaining characters who get proper development. Make those characters beloved so fans turn out to future installments. This is why the recent Spider-Man films are doing so well. People want to see Tom Holland and Zendaya in those roles. There is emotional investment. Take a stab at different genre fare. How about a romantic comedy? The characters can still have superpowers and get into fights with baddies, but make that secondary to the romance. How about a noir-esque murder mystery with a superpowered team of detectives? Or a buddy cop film with a soup teaming up with a normal human? Or a heist film with some clever and powered-up thieves? The New Mutants in 2020 was supposed to be an R-rated horror film. The studio balked, did a lot of reshoots, kept pushing the release date further and further back. While the budget was there at around $80 million, it had no real box office chances and brought in under $50 million. Had they made it real horror, though, worth thinking about. The same goes for Josh Trank's version of Fantastic Four. A $120 million budget brought in $170 million at the box office, but Trank was basically fired, and the entire last act was reshot with a totally different ending than what Trank envisioned. So compromised. But what if the body horror aspects present in Trank's version were fully explored? What if it had been R-rated and gone bravely into the horror genre? Could we at least get heart and fear and hope and loss and everything else that moves people and makes films memorable? Can we stop just throwing money at the screen? What do you think? Do films have to cost so much? Can the same result be achieved for less money? Is the money spent actually visible on the screen? Would you like to see Marvel explore other subgenres with their heroes? Any and all comments are welcome. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more videos on entertainment topics of all kinds, leave a like to let me know and consider subscribing to my channel. Everything helps and is greatly appreciated. Thanks for watching. See you next time.